Go from boring to beautiful, eye-catching images to capture your audience attention and save time while doing it. Is that something that you're looking to achieve while you're building up your business and doing your social media marketing? Who has time to spend hours creating eye-catching designs? I know I don't. Now, you've probably heard of Canva, might be using that, or Adobe Photoshop. I can't use that, it's too technical for me. But have you heard of Easil? What's that? No? Hey, well, you're in for a big treat tonight because I just happen to know the CEO and founder of Easil, Annette McDonald, and she is joining us all the way down from Australia. That's why the show is at 4:30 Pacific time today. Hey, you guys, thanks for joining us. I'm Mary Fain Brandt, Chief Inspiration Officer at the LinkedIn Bakery, where we serve up bite-sized tips so you don't get overwhelmed. And I want to give a big shout out to our official sponsor, StreamYard. StreamYard is the official sponsor of Bite-Sized Tips for Busy Entrepreneurs, and it's a streaming platform, the one that we're using right now. Makes it super easy to go live, just a click of the button. You can do awesome intro videos. You can have up to 10 people on your show. It's a wonderful streaming tool, and I'm going to put my link in the comments in case you're interested in testing it out and seeing how easy it is to go live. So if you're catching the replay, you guys know me, just do #replay, and Annette and I promise to go back in, answer any questions, share any links that we talk about, and just engage with you afterwards. So who's watching today with me? I'd love to know where you're watching from. Are you down in Australia, over in England, here in San Diego? We have a worldwide audience these days, especially due to COVID, right? We're all behind our laptops, but that's okay as long as we're engaging, entertaining, and learning, educating. So let's welcome to the show our very special guest, Annette. Let me bring her on. Annette!
Hey everyone. Hey Mary, great to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know I'm really bad with time zones, and thank God you were like, when I was like, how about 11:30? You're like, no, 11:30 in the morning, your time doesn't work. So what time is it right now for you?
I'm calling you from the future. It's Thursday morning, 9:30.
Oh, that's why. I guess Lisa Monks, I think she commented on this, and she might be down there in your time zone because she said, see you Thursday. And I was like, did I put the wrong date on my event? That's immediately where I went to. But wow. Yeah. So how is the future? Is tomorrow better than Wednesday?
It is. It's really great. It's a beautiful day. Lots is happening. Great.
Good, good, good. So we have Winsy Mom from South Florida. Well, hello, South Florida. Thanks for joining us. I love that we can connect with people all over the world and share tricks and tips and trends and just inspire and encourage everyone to be their best version of themselves and help them scale and grow their businesses, all from working at home here, right? I love that. So Annette, so we first met because we have some mutual friends, you know, Stephanie, Evie, Kendra, shout out to the girls here in San Diego. So we met like on Facebook or something. And then we got to meet at the last first best conference of 2020. Does that make sense, guys? Social media marketing world. So we actually got to meet in person, and I was so excited to meet you because we had some interaction online and you were coming, and I was like, oh yes, I'm gonna meet the famous Annette in person. And it was so much fun that we got a chance to actually sit and talk and have lunch and just kind of get to know each other on a personal level a little bit there at that crazy conference. But it's kind of still surreal that was like the last conference of 2020. Right?
It really is. It really is. I mean, it all changed pretty much days afterwards, didn't it?
Boom. Yeah. Like I mean, there was even some chatter like, is social media marketing world going to happen? Because it was at the end of February and the first like 2 days of March. So things had just started to, let's say, explode. It was like bubbling up when we were at the conference. And there were some people that canceled, some speakers even, but it was a great conference. And I'm glad that we all had that opportunity to come together at least once this year, and learn from each other and meet new friends. Wait, did I do that right? Yeah, meet new friends.
Nope.
Right? I always do that wrong. So I'm like, okay, you're the opposite. Well, Annette, why don't you tell our viewers just a little bit about yourself? Because I know Easil is your second company. So if you want to go ahead and tell your story of how you got started in the biz.
Yeah, for sure. So my background is actually as a graphic designer. I've been personally designing for over 20 years now. And how Easil came about was that I've got my agency, so that's called Copyright. It's a traditional graphic design agency where we were working just with marketers. So marketers would brief in their graphic requirements and we were churning out graphics, especially once social media hit. So everyone needed, as we all know, tons and tons and tons of graphics. So I had a team of over 15 graphic designers and we were backlogged for weeks on end, and it just wasn't cutting it. You know, people are, they're always wanting things fast, and you can't be doing social media graphics with a 2-week turnaround unless you're doing a full content plan. But obviously people want stuff quickly for of the moment stuff. And there weren't very many options back then for DIY design tools or quality design tools. So we decided to introduce something first and foremost that was going to help our studio. So we wanted a tool that would help slow down the time between requesting a change from a client, going to our admin team, and then going to a designer, then back to our admin and back to the client. So what we did was we introduced a tool that would allow, firstly, our admin team to jump in and make a change if a client needed it. So that would cut out a couple of those steps. But then what we did is we introduced our first version of Easil that was something that our clients could go into. So they could go in, and if they wanted to change a social media graphic from last week and just change the day for something from a Monday to a Friday, they could jump in and make those changes. So that was about 5 years ago, and it wasn't known as Easil. It was just a really, really basic sort of web to print system, if anyone knows what that is. It's like an old school sort of website where you can go in, make changes, really, really simple sort of graphics upgrade. So that exploded really with our clients. They loved it, and they would be working at, they would be a client of ours in one workspace, and then they would leave that place and go and work somewhere else. And they would say, hey, can we use that system? So we got to thinking, can this be bigger than what it really is? And the feedback really was, yeah, we want this, we need this. So we decided to totally rebuild and make Easil more of a public product. So that's pretty much where it came from. It was an internal need because we weren't able to keep up with the demand, and our clients needed something to jump in and make those changes. They didn't necessarily want to be designers, if that makes sense. They just wanted to access stuff that we did and make those changes. So
I love it. So you actually created this out of your own need. Those are the best products and services. When you're struggling with something yourself and you're like, there has got to be a better way, that is when, the light bulbs go off and you go into action and you're like, I can do better. So you did better. So you created this program, Easil. Well, it wasn't even known as Easil, and it was just for internal. It was just for your company. And then look at where it's at now. It's amazing. It's grown so much. And what I heard you say is that it's really easy for people to approve changes. So we all know Canva, right? You and I were talking before. You don't hate Canva. It's just another tool. There's a gazillion tools out there for us, and it's good to have options. So,
absolutely.
Right? So one of the differences between Canva and Easil when we were talking, and it helped me understand better, is Easil has an approval process, right? Like that to me is amazing, because my virtual assistant, she'll make an image, then she's got to upload it, send it to me, and I'll be like, oh, the name is wrong. Like there's like one tiny thing wrong, or, oh, I don't want that to be blue there. So what I'm hearing is that if I were using Easil with my virtual assistant, like I'm going to be, I could make that change. Or she could send that to me and I could approve it. and it's
Yeah,
not download,
definitely.
upload for every little change.
Yeah. And that's the stuff that really adds up. It's not just creating the graphic, it's sending it off to a client to say, hey, is this okay? And then they give you another small change, and then they change their mind again. You know, we all know that backwards and forwards of going to a client and then they just change, 10 different times for one little graphic, whereas they could jump in, make that change, send it back to you for approval, whichever way it goes. You can set yourself to be the approver, or they are as the client. And yeah, they're in charge of that. And it's a lot faster than backwards and forwards. And we all hate email. I do anyway.
I hate email. So that right there is like a no-brainer. That right there is like, sign me up today. And I've played with Easil, and I'm always honest and authentic to my audience. I haven't made the full switch over there because it will be a process for my VA and I. But now that I understand how much time it can save me just with that one feature, I'm like, I'm gonna sign up for that pro plan. I'm gonna have her start putting things in there because it's going to save so much time on those graphics and images. Besides, you guys have a ton of templates, right?
We do. We've got a heap of templates. And I mean, it's very simple. It's very similar to Canva. You can customize everything. And we do really encourage that, putting your brand on top of it, getting your brand kit set up, and turning those graphics into your own graphics. Like, there's nothing worse than seeing the same graphics being used over and over. So yeah, we really encourage people to set up their brand kit, apply those fonts and everything, and make those graphics their own.
Yeah. You got to be on brand. You can use a template, but you've got to use your font and your colors, right? You have to keep on brand, so your audience knows that that's you. Like, if I wasn't doing blue and yellow, like if I didn't have blue, people would be like, what happened, Mary? Because everybody, well, look, I even have a blue shirt on today, and my whole background is all blue. I don't know. So I can save a lot of time. You have an actual approval process built into Easil, which right there, I'm sold just on that. And I think it's a little less expensive than the other brand name, right?
It's a little bit cheaper. It's $7.50 in US dollars per month. So, or $75 for the annual plan. So it's a little bit cheaper. It is geared towards teams. So, when you've got a few people on, or when you've got a VA or, a few VAs, it's just geared to be, just be affordable for that small business, rather than, having all of those tools like the restrictions and the approval workflow. A lot of that stuff comes into play in other software when you're on an enterprise sort of plan. But to us, and to me, I really think that, like, our slogan is great marketing starts here. And what I mean by that is it starts by, here. Great marketing is one person. And then it's when you've got one VA or one assistant. It doesn't start when you've got a big team. So you need to start getting those things into play, like approvals and, keeping your brand on brand from the start, when you're an individual, not when you're a big team, or it gets way too hard to sort of backtrack and pick up all those things and tie them on brand. Start when you're small, get it right, and then keep building on that. Think big.
I love that. Like, that is amazing. And yeah, because my team's going to be growing in 2021. So I need to jump over now and get that whole process approval set up and all my brands in there. And now I'm super excited. Like, just learning a couple things that Easil offers can really be a game changer, even for the solopreneur and the small business owner, right? That approval process, saving a little money, all the amazing templates that you have. I know all my girls, Stephanie, Kendra, and Evie, they all use Easil. They love it. So I'll be joining the Easil family real soon here. And I will share some of my designs once we get those going. I have some designs in mind, so I'll go ahead and share those out on all my platforms so you guys can see how cool it is. We had Pat joining us over on LinkedIn. Hi, Pat. She said that LinkedIn Live was having some issues. That's always fun when tech has issues, right? But that's okay. We've got the replay. We're broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube as well. So, Annette, do you want to share your screen and actually go over some features that that Easil has?
Yeah, let me
Faux
just
pas.
get
I've been
this.
watching LinkedIn summits all day. There you go.
Okay. All right. So I'll run through a few of my tips, but are not necessarily just easel tips. I mean, these are general design tips and marketing tips that you should keep in mind if you're doing your own DIY design. So whilst I'd love you to use Easil, you can take these tips wherever you go. So firstly, like Mary was just saying, the most important thing is to have your brand set up. So within Easil, we've got the brand kit here. So within that, you can add your brand colors, your brand images, your fonts, and your logos. And setting all of that up is going to save you a ton of time just in itself when you start creating graphics. So I'll show you what happens with jumping into an actual design and how you can use those things. So I've got my little mock brand here, which is a little gym, and gosh, I haven't been to a gym for a long time, I must say. So this is probably the closest I've been for 6 months. But we've got this little brand here, and these are some of the templates that we've created. And you can see that those fonts, those colors, and everything are applied to those images. It's all about having that visual consistency. So how do you get to this stage though? If you're not a graphic designer, you need to start with a template. Like templates, I always say templates are your friends. If you're not a designer, start with a template, but then go through and use your brand kit to fully customize. So these are some of the templates available in Easil, and I'll run through what I would do with making one of these on brand. So just opening this up. So when I open this up, you can obviously see that my brand colors were nothing like this one. So within this little color palette here, you can pop it open and all of those colors we've entered into our brand kit are accessible here. And that means you can super quickly go through and apply them to your template. So I would go through and go, I want to change that peachy color to a red, and the bottom color here, I'll change that to my black. And that's already starting to look more like my brand. Might decide that I want to take off that
That's
design
so
element
easy.
there.
Like I'm
Really
watching you, I'm
easy.
like, okay, I can do that. Like
you can do that. So look, every step that you take and every layer that you're applying from your brand kit in terms of the colors or the fonts or the images, the logo or the elements, they all bring you closer to being on brand. And look, you could go as far as just doing that, you know, applying those colors on there for an Instagram story. That might be okay. You know, it's a story. People aren't expecting that to always be your corporate fonts. You know, you might want to keep something playful in there. But if you wanted to take that a little bit further, you could then jump in here and you've got your brand fonts. Come on, internet. You've got your brand fonts in here and you can go through and apply those as well. But the main thing with doing a template, and I probably should have done this, I'm just going to click back to start off with actually. What I should have done to start off with is make a copy of it. So what I do first is keep that original copy in there, then go through and change those colors. So I've always got my copy on there to refer to. And now I'm just going to tell you why I did that. So when I change this Today font to my brand font, you'll notice that that size of that font there is a lot smaller than what it is in the template. So even though it's exactly the same size, you have to understand that fonts are not like a 160 size font in one font is not the same as the other. So what you're trying to do in a template is actually to retain the same area. So you want to increase the size of that font so that visually the template is more like your original one. So bumping up that size a little bit more to make it more in line with that original one. So when you're first starting out, that tip of having the duplicate there is just easier to revert back to it and visually go, right, yeah, you know, this won't look right, but making it larger to fit that space will keep it much more in line visually with how it's supposed to be. So going through here, I'll take off that element again. So you're building that brand, applying that font through here. Grateful. Checking back to that template to see visually how that balance is. And that's getting closer to it. And all I'm doing then is applying my different fonts throughout the template. There's a couple of text boxes here, which I need to change to white, and changing that font. And within, look, that was probably a minute or two, I've totally customized that template.
It's totally on brand for you now.
It's totally on brand.
And so something that was a template and people are like, oh, I can't use a template because then it won't be on brand, or everyone will know that I'm using a template. There's nothing wrong with using a template like this and then just customizing it so it is on brand. And you did that so quickly, and I followed along. I was like, okay, I can do that. It's a couple clicks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a couple of clicks. And that's as far as you may need to go with a template. There's other tips that I would give if you've got other brand elements. You know, there's other things that you can do to step it up as well. So that would be the first stage that I would do and go, okay, well, I've totally customized that. If I've only got 2 minutes, I'm happy with that. I can post that story and I've got something out there. But what you can also do is, so if you see my templates here, and hopefully you can see that okay on the screen, some of these have got little graphic details in the top here. So I'll just open them up to show you. There's other types of brand elements that can tie things in together. So my other tip is to actually develop your brand to have other elements. Besides your logo, you might have little things like this. You may need to go to a graphic designer to do that if you're, if you're not design savvy. But once you've got these little things in your design that build on your brand, you should also add those to your design. So what I've done is I've gone into that template where I've got those little diagonal lines, and I'll pop back in here and I'll just paste them in there. And you'll see that that's just another layer of really separating it from that original template and building on my brand to that. So using those elements, constantly building up layers and layers of your brand and personalizing it, and just building that consistency from graphic to graphic is really important. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. And I just watching you just do that one, I'm like, oh yeah, this is really a no-brainer to me right now. And, but that's how I learn, from seeing and watching someone do something. I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that. That's super easy.
Yeah, you only really need to see it once, don't you? Like once you get the gist of
I'm like, oh, okay, I can go in and I can edit that and make my own. Yeah, so I'm just playing around right now with trying to get LinkedIn working, because LinkedIn had an issue. So I'm trying to get us back on LinkedIn Live. Gotta love tech, but that's okay, you guys. That's okay. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to try to get us linked back to LinkedIn. It could be a technical issue on their part. We're not quite sure. So what other tips, because I know that you said, Mary, it's more than just the templates. There's tips on how to create a great marketing piece, tips on, how to stay on brand. So what other tips do you have for our viewers?
Definitely. So I think some other tips are repurposing. So making sure that you're using all your different graphics across your different platforms and not using that same graphic in the incorrect size. So we've got something that we call the 7 deadly DIY design sins. And one of those is sizing sloth. And that's being too lazy to resize your graphics properly for the correct application. So you want to make sure that when you're marketing, of course, that you're using those graphics across LinkedIn, across Facebook, across your stories, and getting as much exposure as you can for those graphics and your content. So another thing to keep in mind is resizing properly. So I'll run through how I would do that based on another template. So this is a stock standard template where you would be doing something interactive like a Q&A. And what I would do firstly, of course, is go through and apply my heading fonts to this and customize the text. Let's just say it's with me. So just all you have to do is double click, start typing in, and I would go through to the side here. You can upload your own images or you can store them in your brand kit. I don't actually have a photo of me, but we'll pretend that's a photo of me. drop that in, and I'm starting to customize that template, replacing that. So I'll just customize that a bit further by applying my red on there and changing that text to white and the font. So I've pretty much put all my brand colors and everything in there, and that might be something that you would quickly apply to, sorry, not apply, that you would use for a story. You might be happy with that. But if you're running a Q&A, you wouldn't just be popping it on a story. You'd be popping it on Instagram, or you'd be popping it on Twitter, or wherever you are.
Or wait, what did you want to talk about? You
asked me. Stories.
You asked me if we could talk about that. I was like, okay, I don't have it yet. I don't know anybody who has LinkedIn stories yet, but you would use this for your LinkedIn stories?
You could use this for your LinkedIn stories. So obviously this is the same size. So the stories platform is the same. It's the same full screen on LinkedIn stories as it is on Instagram and everywhere else. So that's great because you can just do the one size and you can post wherever you want. For LinkedIn, I should say, in the beta, it's really, really limited in functionality. So
do you have access?
I have access.
What? Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy good. I'm so happy that you have access. Normally I get early access to things. So
yeah. I know a little hack, but I'll tell you that offline, I think. Oh. But it is available. It's available to Australians. I think it's available in the Netherlands and United Arab Emirates. Maybe in France as well. So there's certain countries that have got it now, but it's really quite limited in functionality. So doing stuff like this and creating your graphic first up and bringing it into LinkedIn in your stories is probably one of the easiest things to do because there's only 2 fonts on there. I think there's 5 or 6 colors. Yeah. So you're really, it's a bit, it's like using Microsoft Paint or something like that.
Don't say that. That's awful. LinkedIn always, when they roll something out, A, it takes forever. B, it's never where it should be, right? They have to roll it out and then they have to improve it, add things to it. But I'm not quite sure how I feel about LinkedIn stories yet. So
look, I do like them. I like there's a couple of cool features, especially in terms of mentions. So when you're tagging people in stories in LinkedIn, it's quite cool because you get the whole, when you tap on the mention. So if I popped you in a story and put the Mary tag on my story, if anyone viewing my story taps on your tag, they see your whole profile or your headline and all of that information. So it gives them a little mini preview. And I think that's really, really great. Like as opposed to, having to click through to the profile. Like I don't think as many people would do that. But if you get that little preview, you think, oh, okay. And it's just a great place to really, sell that person, introduce your teammates. Lots of different things.
That's a good feature. I just, I'm going to have to see it. What you guys know that LinkedIn is my platform of choice. I love LinkedIn. It's where the professionals hang out. It's just where I go for my news feed, right? Every platform serves a purpose. I don't want to see LinkedIn turn into Facebook or Instagram.
No. But for me, so the thing with the stories that I really like is, so I've got on Instagram, I've got my personal profile and then I've got the Easil profile. And I've got a couple of different ones for my other businesses, but Easil is the main one. And I work with a lot of developers who don't want to do stories. So if I'm doing stories, it becomes a bit of the Annette show. And I feel it's a bit too much. Some people may not, but I don't like the Easil stories being all about me, always about me. And on my personal stories, my friends couldn't care less about Easil, to be honest. Right. There's a few that do, but most, they're my friends for other reasons. But on LinkedIn, I think it's just that perfect balance for me. I've got the right connections on there. I think they'd be happy to see me. It's, I'm Annette and I'm Annette from Easil, and I think it's a nice balance. So I like it for that reason. I think it's just the right fit for me.
Well, the jury is still out because we don't have it here in the States yet that I know of. So we'll have to see. I wonder, can you tag me in the story right now? Like what I know that, not mean like not right now, but like
I can tag you, and anyone viewing the story here in Australia or any of the countries will see that and can tap on your tag.
And so
will
the person that gets tagged, will I be notified that I was tagged in a story?
I think you get notified, but I think it might be via the messages. So what I normally do anyway is I send that story directly as well, just because we're not, fully sure of what actually happened. I have to be honest that because it's in here and, a lot of my connections are in the States, it's not huge visibility just yet. So, you might do a story and you might get a handful of, a dozen people watching the stories, which is totally different to Instagram. So, it's not, I don't have a ton of people that can give me a lot of feedback yet. It's really early days.
But yeah, I'm just curious what
send them off.
Yeah, what that's going to look like. So sorry, guys, that we got off on that tangent, but really, because you need to be prepared for when LinkedIn stories come out. And because they are so limited, you can use Easil to create something that's on brand if you're going to do a live Q&A. And there's, I'm sure, a ton of reasons that you would want to create the image in Easil for your story on LinkedIn. I love this. I love this. So what other tips do you have for our audience, or what's one more thing that you want to, the last tip that you want to leave the audience with?
I'll go through the resizing one, because I think that's something that people struggle with. So if we've taken a template and we've created it into our story here, we would need something like a square image. So what you can do is you can resize, and I'll turn it into a Instagram post, because that's a size that you can use on Instagram or you can use on Facebook. So a mistake I see that a lot of people make is they'll take a template like this and they really won't change the graphic elements to suit the new shape. So I just want to run through a couple of tips to make it work a little bit better. So what I would do here is, and I think most people would know this, to fill out the graphic, with the image a little bit better. But if you've got a design like this with a frame, what you want to do is frame it to the new size. So if you're going to a larger size, you're always pulling out those elements to the new size. If you're going smaller, you're pulling everything in. So that still isn't, it's not working perfectly. It's covering my face or, whoever it is. You want to change that around. So you can either go through and rearrange that to work on the square shape, or going with that, that theory of always resizing things, you could go in and fit that better to a square shape, pulling that out to be within the same sort of boundaries as the original one. What I would do is pop that into one line. And move everything down. So just popping that down there. Maybe make it a little bit smaller. So just adjusting to fit more of a square shape by pulling it in to fit the new size. So again, within a couple of minutes, you can make a new design, a new resize that's perfect for that platform without too much messing around. Keeping it on brand.
I love it.
I think it's easy once you get the hang of it. But getting used to those rules of pulling it out to make it fit if it's wider, or reducing things if you're taking things down to a smaller size, removing some of it so it's not too busy. Like not taking something that's on a like a letter document or an A4 flyer,
right,
and squeezing it down and fitting all of that information in. Always take off something if you're making it smaller, and if you're going from something small to something big, filling out that space a little bit better.
Because it's always about balance, right? The image needs to be balanced.
Yeah, and that's the thing with using a template, is that the graphic designers have put that balance in place. So if you're exchanging like for like, same amounts of text, and making those the text larger or smaller to fit that original template, working backwards and forwards and checking that it is in that right sort of proportion, that's going to get you that balance.
I love it. I love it. So just to recap, Easil has a ton of templates. It's a little less expensive than Canva. It's really easy to use. And in my opinion, again, it's just my opinion, the approval process makes it a no-brainer to switch over to Easil, especially when you have a team. Even if you're a small team, it's just my virtual assistant, right? Having her create the images in Easil is actually going to save, and it's going to reduce email. It's going to reduce me downloading an image to make sure it's okay, and then going back to her and asking her to make like a change, a simple change that I could go in and do in like 10 seconds. So it's probably going to save a lot of time, and time is money. So it actually saves you money too, not only on the cost of Easil, but on the time that you're saving, because time is money. So we're going to save a ton of money by using Easil. We're going to support a wonderful friend, colleague, and a business down under in Australia. And I love working with the small business owners. You know, that's really near and dear to my heart, is showcasing experts in their field and different tools and apps that we can use, because sometimes we only know what we know. And we don't know, if for those of you that don't know Easil, it's just because you hadn't been introduced to it yet, but now you have. So now you can go check it out. And I will drop some links in the comments so you can go check that out. And I would love for you to all connect with Annette over on LinkedIn, because, you know, that's where we're growing our professional networks. And Annette, is there anything else that you want to tell our audience about before we sign off?
Definitely just jump in and have a play. And I think the other thing to know is that we've got a team of graphic designers on our team. So if you need any help, we love helping people with branding. Like we actually do a lot of custom template design work as well. So some of my friends that you mentioned, Evie and Kendra,
they
some
all
of those
have
ladies
custom
we've worked
templates.
with doing, you know, custom templates. So, you know, if you're busy, you know, we do that sort of work as well. We, you know, brand out, do the brand kit, build some templates, and it's a lot quicker. So even if you're working with our templates, though, we have live chat. It's not 24 hours a day, but we'll get back to you if you're contacting us in US time.
Right.
But we're
time
there
difference.
To, you know, we're there to help with that sort of stuff too. And, you know, we do know design, so we're more than happy to jump in, chat, and, you know, show you what you can do.
And I have heard from a number of people that the customer service is amazing, and that other company might not have the best customer service. Just saying. Just putting that out there, not saying any names, but I've heard amazing things about your team at Easil. And I actually can't wait to start working with them and building out some templates for me, because I think that's the route I'm going to go. I'm not a designer. Why, I can sit there and I think I am, and I love playing with it. It's going to waste about 2 hours of my day. And it's better for me to pay someone like, hey, can you create me 5 great templates and I'll use those on my brand? For me, that's the smarter way for me to do. So I'll be contacting you afterwards on how we can work together on that. And you know what? Thank you again for your time. I hope you and your family are safe and healthy. There's a lot going on in the world right now. So I'm asking everyone when I sign off, you know what, just be patient, be kind, be considerate, support your small business owners, because it's we've never been through anything like this. No one has, this pandemic, and we've got fires and hurricanes. It's just a crazy time. So I just want to ask everyone to be kind, be considerate, be compassionate, and give shout outs to the people that you're working with or that you've connected with on LinkedIn. So watch for a post that's going to be coming out from me on Friday. And I'd love for you to go over there and engage on it. And it's a fun post, but it is a meaningful post that I think that you'll all enjoy. So you guys, that's it for today. I'm Mary Fain Brandt with the LinkedIn Bakery, serving up bite-sized tips so you don't get overwhelmed. And this is my, so I did that wrong. This is my girl, Annette McDonald of Easil. And again, thank you so much for spending your Thursday morning with us on Wednesday evening. And if you have any other questions for Annette, just drop them in the comments and one of us will get back to you. So you all have a great week. Stay healthy and stay safe. Ciao.